Welcome to Belshir Vestige, spawning in the bottom right position as the red Terran player. From Team SK Telecom, it is FanTaSy. The red Terran player. Godoyo. I don't actually know what it means, but I can read Korean, just not understand it. And he'll be playing against this man in the top left, ST. For some reason, I don't think he's on Startail, but I always want to say it. It is Zero as the blue Zerg player. So, I was talking a little bit about this before we actually loaded the map, but it's likely we could end up casting a lot of FanTaSy games on this channel, mostly because it's a lot easier to follow players. These qualifiers are all best of 3 matches, but people are basically just playing them out as the games happen. So there's a bit of potential that it's just easier to follow FanTaSy since he's actually been very good about getting us invites into the games. But aside from that, we have a barracks opening, followed up by a very fast gas. So this is going to be a Reaper play from FanTaSy, pretty popular as of late. Just being able to get scouting information, not being so vulnerable to the fast attacks. And Zero's actually a bit worried about a 2-racks. We see this drone, a very fast scout. And what Zero's basically saying with this is, if you're proxy 2-racksing me, if you're going to do some sort of cheese all-in, what have you, I will be able to scout it out. I will be able to pull drones to shut down your proxy barracks and give myself an advantage, obviously. No such shenaniganery from FanTaSy. Barracks will complete in a little bit more than a moment as the drone enters the main base ramp. And there we go. SCV immediately engages in the most grueling fisticuffs battle ever seen. Mandibles versus Drilling Claws. Who will win? Oh, Drilling Claws, man. Whew. Man, he is so happy he just polished that bad boy off building that barracks. First blood. That's the best sound effect I can give you guys as the Reaper is about to finish. And FanTaSy calling down the mule hammer. We have a gas taken for Zero, and this is not the fastest gas possible, but it times out reasonably well with this spawning pool. He won't have too long to wait after it finishes before he can get his Zergling speed. Has the potential to go for something like mid-game roaches. And with that Reaper making its way across the field, we also see the second Reaper queued up. FanTaSy doesn't take any SCVs off of his gas, but he starts this command center. Of course, the second Reaper can defend back home. As FanTaSy makes his way inside the main base, he gets to scout off on this gas. He can see actually how much has been mined so far. Not a crazy amount. He's almost at 100, and he actually just goes to start a Spore Crawler in the back with the weakened drone. Basically, by putting it into the transformation process of making a building, he keeps it from being able to get picked off. It's much harder to kill a constructing Zerg building than it is to kill a drone. And a little cute micro back and forth between these Zerglings. The Zergling speed upgrade has begun as FanTaSy continues to just poke around with this Reaper. He's doing what he can, man. And these Overlords for Zero are going to try to get a pretty good scout. In fact, I think he knows everything. Yeah, he knows about the factory, knows of the reactor. Does he know about this third command center? That's what I want to know. No, he does not. And this Reaper, oh no, he's taking some damage. Get away, get away. Look at that, 4 hit points. Scoots on by the trees. These Zerglings for Zero looking to run out, maybe get a little bit more intel. Are going to get a wraparound. No, FanTaSy's trying to... Oh, he gets picked off. One of the Reapers gets snapped. And just a nice little bit of micro here from Zero to weather down those Reapers. Of course, they move so much faster than the Zerglings without that metabolic boost upgrade, that if you can catch them in the right position before that health regenerates, Reapers, man, they're not the tankiest of units. Continuing to poke up. He does know about the gas. He knows that Zergling speed should be done reasonably soon. What does he have going behind this? That third command center, obviously, but now the Hellions being mixed in. He wants to keep the Reaper alive. If there's a huge swell of Zerglings when this upgrade completes, FanTaSy needs to have some way to deal with heavy numbers of Zerglings. This isn't a situation where you can just sit behind a wall and repair endlessly. It's very early on in the game. You need to have Hellions with a micro ability. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's just bringing this pressure. This Queen actually taking a nice bit of damage. Of course, if he keeps the Reaper alive, then he's in a great position because the Reaper's health will regenerate. He doesn't have to repair. He doesn't have to spend resources on it. The 6th and 5th Hellion are being produced. Zero comes in with the Overlord, gets another scout off. He still knows what's up. He has his 3rd hatchery on the way, and he's also taking some gas to the natural. And these Hellions continue to poke up with the Reaper. One of these Queens getting very low. The Zerglings will try to run out. Not just yet. He's keeping that option to go for a counterattack open, and I do like this. FanTaSy will have to pull back a little bit. There's no bunker here. These Zerglings could actually do a little bit of damage. FanTaSy needs to bring everything home right now. There we go. All the Hellions are coming in. Is there a wall off at the main base? Now another barracks has started. FanTaSy, a couple Marines tuck themselves in at night, hoping that these Nightmare Zerglings won't get on top of them, but now a few SCVs in the natural mineral line getting chomped at. Ooh, will he make it into the main base? Denied, and he gets roasted up. Nice little save from FanTaSy, killing off a lot of Zerglings. I feel like that was actually a pretty decent trade for him. And the engineering base for FanTaSy are just going to go right on the wall. A pretty ballsy play, as he does also have just the barracks coming in, actually. There's no starport yet for FanTaSy. This is kind of interesting. He's moving in with these Hellions. The evolution chambers are now evolutioning as these Hellions pick off that one weakened queen from days gone by. And we'll be able to come over here, confirming this 3rd base. Maybe give it a little bit of a love tap. Shouldn't be able to actually kill this off, though. Just attacking these eggs, the larva. It's kind of neat. You know, it actually hinders the production. And there's drones. Boom. One drone goes to build an extractor to hide. These Zerglings might try to go for a counterattack, but this wall is set up. And this is a pretty beefy wall, I gotta say. You ordered extra meat on this one. Engineering bays are a bit hard to kill this early on. The +1 attack and armor on the way. The starport is about to complete with this reactor from the factory. Could go into fast medevac production, or it could just head straight into double mine production. It really comes down to what FanTaSy wants to do. These Hellions managed to roast even a few morlings, and there's the Roach Warren. So Zero, with this Roach Warren, I'm kind of wondering, the lair timing, he could actually go for a very fast Roach Baneling timing attack with the +1 attack and the +1 armor, and just use that as a frontal bust. But there's the Baneling nest. I'm wondering if we're going to see the Roach speed start, or if this is purely for defensive purposes. The Marines are coming in to check the 3rd base. FanTaSy will be able to expand without too much trouble. And these Overlords, I have to say, they're actually pretty nicely positioned. He has a decent read on what's going on. He can see the tech level. He's like, okay, well, now I should expect the medevacs to come out. The Widowmine production's about to explode as well. And he still can see this, at least some of the forces moving out. Will he spot this clump of bio? That's actually very important for him to see. Yes, so Zero does know that there's something coming. This Overlord shouldn't last too much longer. Combat Shield is on the way. There's the Baneling Nest. Roach Speed is even coming in. Pneumaticized Carapace. That's the Overlord speed. And a 4th base. Now, I don't think there's any reason why FanTaSy shouldn't be able to kill this 4th base, except not spotting it. FanTaSy, he's actually just going to press into the natural. The Banelings are on the way. He scans. He has a very small window before these Banelings complete. Can he pick them all off? One detonation hits these Marines. Nothing crazy, though. And FanTaSy's suddenly in a very nice position. There's not enough Banelings here just yet to deal with this. And if you can focus down the only one that stands, there we go. There's still a good number of the Marines with these 2 medevacs. They can do a lot of damage, but if he cleans this up without dealing some serious economic hurt, then Zero should be in a great spot with this 4th hatchery. Now he's running in. The drones being forced to run away. Overlords also being sniped off. There are the Zerglings. They want to catch this force. They want to shut FanTaSy down, but with that 1-1, this Bioforce is just so tough to deal with. He's pressing in. He's focusing on the Evolution Chamber. The +2 Carapace gets canceled immediately, and now that he gets swarmed, he can just lift up and roll away. Now the +2 melee attack is still coming in, but there's a drop headed towards the main base. FanTaSy's continue to bring this multi-prong aggression forward. The +2 attack and armor also on the way for the SK Telecom Terran player. Does Zero realize this is coming? No. Now the Marines sprint into the main base. Drones and the Queen should fall. He's got 1 drop split off towards the 4th. 1 still hitting this 3rd base. Should be able to clean this up without too much trouble, but he's still chasing the drones around the main base. Zerglings running in, trying to make something happen, but no luck. He's attacking his own building. Zerglings, the Roaches are here, but this 4th base might get denied at the same time. Medevacs are still just flying around everywhere. This is the weakness of this Roach-heavy style. There's no early Spire, no Mutalisks to stop this drops. And, I mean, FanTaSy's just going to fly around everywhere. He's going to be the buzzing bee that makes Zero just swat everywhere until he, well, swats himself in the face. He's here behind the main base mineral line once again, just going after these individual Roaches, continuing to just bring this non-stop pressure. Another force hitting this 4th base. They're the Widow Mines mixed in now as well. The Zerglings and the Banelings are going to try to come in and deal with this. No detonations yet. Picks off the only Banelings with this force. 4-0, and that fourth hatchery shouldn't last too much longer. The Little Mines get some great hits off on these roaches. There's Marines in the natural. There's Marines in the main base. There's Marines in the third. FanTaSy is literally all over Zero right now. You can barely see his computer screen because he's all over him that much. And this Bioforce steps out just a little bit more, tries to go for the counterattack, but there's nothing here for Zero. Just Marines and Marauders for days. The endless stream of reinforcements coming out, 8 Marines at a time with double Marauder reinforcements. GG, FanTaSy takes game number 1 in this best of 3 against Zero here at the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore qualifier.